Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. Liverpool are back in FA Cup action on Saturday evening in the fourth round of the competition against Alan Pardew's West Bromwich Albion at Anfield, in what represents a wonderful opportunity for Liverpool to just immediately banish all their demons from the Swansea game and prove that that absolutely pathetic, useless performance that they put in on Monday night was just a blip, it was just a one-off, and it will never happen again so long as Jurgen Klopp is the Liverpool manager, because it was a terrible, terrible performance against a side that set up almost exactly how you'd expect West Brom to play in this game. We've already had a flavour of what West Brom will do when they come to Anfield earlier on this season, when we played them in December, not long after Alan Pardew had been appointed, and they ground out a really, really dull 0-0 draw. So we can really expect them to go with a similar approach, despite this being the Cup, despite obviously being a knockout tournament. They don't want to replay as much as Liverpool don't want to replay. I'm sure no one wants to have to play that extra game to get through to the next round of the competition, so they will probably want to have, you know, a final result by the end of this game, but they will still look to set up in a very similar way to how they did earlier on in the season and how Swansea did on Monday night. So Liverpool can straight away show that this kind of team sitting back and parking the bus against us and just not having any interest in actually attacking the ball and trying to score goals themselves, we can beat that team. It's just that the Swansea game was a kind of one-off day where everyone was out of form and it didn't quite go for us. So team news going into this game, there isn't a huge amount of injury news going on at the moment. Alberto Moreno looks like he might actually not be available for this game. I've said in a couple of previous videos that he's back in full first team training now, and so it looks like he might be ready to start, but according to Jurgen Klopp in his recent press conferences, he's still feeling a little bit of pain in the ankle. So while he's able to walk and run and play in training and everything like that, he might not quite be ready for first team football just yet. So it's possible that Alberto Moreno won't actually be thrown in for this game. There is a lot of talk about Daniel Sturridge for this match and how he may actually start, despite the fact that there are a lot of links linking him to loan moves, going to maybe Inter Milan, Sevilla, somewhere abroad and something like that. But it looks like it's possible that Jurgen Klopp may actually look to start Daniel Sturridge in this game. Potentially a bit of a reactionary thing from the game against Swansea, and looking at the lack of sort of cutting edge and creativity in this side, he may be thinking that Daniel Sturridge might actually have a little bit more to offer than maybe Jurgen Klopp first thought. I mean, just looking back on the Swansea game, there was that one chance Danny Ings got late on in the game where he had a little half chance, suddenly the goal opened up a little bit for him and he just kind of drags it with his left foot, and you think a fit and sharp Daniel Sturridge absolutely 100% scores that goal. And the question, of course, is that what we're getting? Are we getting a fit and sharp Daniel Sturridge? This will certainly be his first game since coming back from, I think, a little bit of an injury layoff earlier on in the season, and he hasn't played that much football. He has been in training though, so fingers crossed if Jurgen Klopp is planning to start him, that he's seen something in training that says maybe we should just give this lad a go before we consider selling him at any point in the rest of the January transfer window. So as for how I think Liverpool are actually going to line up for the game, in goal it is obviously going to be Loris Karius. He was the cup keeper earlier on in the season. Now he's pretty much the wholesale number one. He's fulfilling every single role. It looks like Jurgen Klopp's going to ditch the whole rotational policy. He seems to have just thrown Simon Mignolet completely in the bin now, so it looks like Karius is going to be the goalie in the Cups, in the Champions League and in the Premier League as well, so no real surprise there. Centre-back pairing, I reckon we're going to go with the strength. I think we're going to go with Matip and Van Dijk. There's a shout that maybe you could go with, you know, you could drop one of Lovren and Klavan in there. You could potentially even drop both in there. There's always room for a little bit of rotation, while I think Jurgen Klopp does want to take the Cup seriously, and that was reflected in his previous selection in the third round against Everton. With the fact that we're playing Huddersfield Town in a midweek game on Tuesday, just 3 days after, I think there is a possibility that we may drop a few players out of the reckoning for this game just to give them a wee bit of a rest. But I think we're probably going to go with Matip and Van Dijk at centre-back, try and forge a little bit of a partnership between them, get them playing on the same wavelength and everything to hopefully eliminate the kind of errors that led to the Swansea goal. Then at right back, I think it's going to be Alexander-Arnold. I think it's high time that Joe Gomez got a little bit of a rest. He's been playing a lot of games. He's made a few more mistakes recently. I thought he was going to get a rest in the Swansea game. Jurgen Klopp persisted with him, but I think now it's the right time to let Alexander-Arnold have another go. Obviously, he's a fantastic prospect. He brings a lot to the side, especially going forward, and his defensive game is improving improving week by week every single time he plays. So I think it's fair to give Alexander-Arnold a run out in this game and give Gomez a wee bit of a rest. And obviously against West Brom, they are going to sit back. You want a little bit more attacking impetus from your fullbacks, and I think you get that with Trent Alexander-Arnold. And then completing the back four, I reckon it's going to be Andrew Robertson, because Moreno, it just sounds like he's a little bit touch and go. He's not quite ready yet, and Robertson obviously has been playing very well. With the fixture list congesting a little bit over the next few games, with the midweek match against Huddersfield and the Champions League matches coming back into the reckoning as well, I think we will see a bit of rotation with the left backs, Klopp trying to sort of juggle the two and see who's the better option. But for now, I think we are going to stick with Andrew Robertson. And then the midfield, I reckon that it's going to be Emre Can, Adam Lallana and James Milner. I think we are going to see a little bit of rotation in midfield, because that was where Liverpool fell short against Swansea, really. We just did not have enough creativity from the deeper areas of the pitch, which meant that either the centre-backs were taking pot shots and the forwards just weren't getting the ball enough. They weren't getting the ball in the right places. They weren't getting chances created for them. So I think Jurgen Klopp's going to rotate his midfield a little bit over the next few games, just to try and work out what works and what doesn't, and try and fill that Phil Coutinho hole, because as we all know, he will look to do it with the personnel he's got to hand before he dives into the transfer window and tries to do anything there. So I think he'll go with Milner, trying to get that little experienced head. I think I mentioned in the post-Swansea video that that was kind of what was missing from our midfield for me. I think the panic just set in way too early on in the game. Everyone in the midfield lost their heads and they just weren't able of doing anything calmly or sensibly. So I think having an older player like James Milner, who will have been in the situation of playing against the Park the Bus team countless times over his career, especially playing for teams like Liverpool and Man City, he should hopefully just calm the side down a little bit, bring in those qualities that supposedly make him good enough to be the vice-captain of the club, and just keep everything a wee bit more composed. And then I reckon Adam Lallana obviously came on as a sub against Swansea, didn't have a great game, but then again, none of the Liverpool players did. He didn't really impress for me, but hopefully, if he is given a start in this game, he'll get a proper chance to stake his claim to take on that Phil Coutinho role. And then the front three, I reckon it's going to be Salah on the right, Mane on the left, and then Sturridge through the middle, because obviously Sturridge, Klopp might want to have a little bit of a look at him before he sells him. Obviously it makes sense to rotate a little bit. Things didn't work against Swansea. Why not try something a little bit new? And Roberto Firmino obviously does need a rest, because he just works so very hard, and he actually completed the 90 minutes against Swansea, which he doesn't always do under Jurgen Klopp. Klopp normally likes to take Firmino off at around the 70-minute mark when things are going okay, so that he can just rest him for the next match. So I think Firmino comes out the side, and then Sturridge comes in with the front three. So West Brom then, obviously like I said at the top of the video, I'm certainly expecting them to go backs to the wall, parking the bus and trying to replicate what Swansea did on Monday night and what they did at Anfield earlier on in the season. However, we can expect a little bit of a different approach from West Brom, what with this being the Cup. I mean, first of all, they did field a pretty decent side last time they played in the FA Cup in the third round against Exeter City, but at that point Alan Pardew hadn't actually won a game as West Brom boss, and I think it made sense to field a good side so that he could try and get his first win. And the idea of fielding a weakened side and potentially losing to a lower league side could just heap more pressure on him that he didn't really want. So I think he went for full strength there just to try and get a win and get his West Brom career off the ground. Obviously things are now different. The FA Cup probably isn't going to be the main focus for West Brom this season, with them being in the relegation zone and level on points with bottom of the table Swansea with 20 points after 24 games. The focus, I think, certainly for West Brom and for Alan Pardew is on survival and avoiding relegation in the Premier League at the moment. Obviously, a cup run would be nice. Everybody loves a cup run, but you do have to prioritise at this level. So I think West Brom, you know, we'll see a little bit of a weakened team. I don't think we'll see a team quite as strong as we did at Anfield earlier on the season. I don't think it'll be as strong as the side they fielded against Exeter in the third round. So fingers crossed that that will help Liverpool out, because I am expecting a Liverpool win as always, especially against opposition like West Brom, and I do think we need to go for the FA Cup. So here are my 3 reasons why I think Liverpool will beat West Brom on Saturday. First of all, as I said, I'm expecting Daniel Sturridge to start this game, and if he does, he has got a massive point to prove. Whether it's because he wants to stay at Liverpool or because he wants to seek a move away, he hasn't played much football in a while now. I don't think I can actually remember the last time he kicked a ball for Liverpool. He has been injured. He has been kind of dropped out the side by Jurgen Klopp. So this represents a huge opportunity for him to either put himself in the shop window or try and force his way back into Jurgen Klopp's plans. So like I said, we may not have a fit and sharp Daniel Sturridge, but we will certainly have one who is desperate to make a mark on the game. And hopefully that should help Liverpool win, especially with the fact that, you know, we struggled in front of goal against West Brom earlier on the season. We did it against Swansea as well. And I think having someone who's supposedly still deadly in the box, we haven't quite seen that much of Daniel Sturridge in recent years as much as we did earlier on in his Liverpool career, but he must still have that knack because, you know, goal scoring presumably is like riding a bike for a player like him. It just comes so naturally. So hopefully that should help Liverpool get the win. And second of all, like I said, West Brom just don't need the win in this game as much as Liverpool do. Obviously, like I said, everyone wants to win a match. They certainly won't want a replay, and a cup run is always nice, but it's just not the top priority for West Brom at the moment. Whereas, like I said, an FA Cup run would be really good for Liverpool. It doesn't look like we're going to get anywhere near league leaders Manchester City in the Premier League this season. I think top four is basically all we're going for now. The Champions League would be lovely, but the FA Cup is just a little bit more of a reasonable target. And coming into Jurgen Klopp's, you know, the third anniversary of him arriving at Liverpool later on this year, you'd kind of want something to show for it by that time. Obviously, it is a long-term project. We haven't yet seen the best, hopefully, of what Jurgen Klopp will give Liverpool, but you want some silverware to say, look, this side is going places. This side is capable of winning because we've won the FA Cup. That would be absolutely lovely. And I just think, you know, West Brom, if they're not really up for it and Liverpool are, if you want to park the bus against this Liverpool side, especially on their day, you've got to be absolutely going for it for the full 90 minutes. You know, Swansea were absolutely desperate to get that 3 points against Liverpool. Once they got that winner, they put their backs to the wall and they just tried so desperately hard to hold out and get the win. And eventually, of course, they did. West Brom kind of did the same thing at Anfield. They were desperate to get that 0-0 draw and they managed it. But if their head isn't quite in it and their heart isn't quite in it, if they're not desperate to absolutely get a result out of the game, then hopefully Liverpool should be able to find a way through their defence and win the game. And finally, like I said, I'm expecting Jurgen Klopp to do a wee bit of rotation. I don't think we're going to see anything like the kind of sides that he's put out in the FA Cup in the past over the last 2 seasons as Liverpool manager. Like I said, I think the starting 11 is going to kind of be like all first teamers, but a little bit of rotation in there. And I think, like I said, especially with the midfield, these players will all want to prove something going into the second half of the season, especially those midfielders and especially players like Adam Lallana and James Milner, who maybe aren't quite seen now as first team players. You know, they're not seen as players who are going to be in the starting 11 week in, week out, but without Coutinho, they've now got an opportunity to show that they can take on the mantle of someone who, you know, takes the game by the scruff of the neck in midfield, takes control of it and wins matches for Liverpool. So hopefully the fact that this is kind of an audition for several Liverpool players on the pitch on Saturday evening should help us get over the line, beat West Brom and get into the 5th round of the FA Cup. So that is all for today's video. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. I'll be back later on with the FIFA 18 prediction show for this game. If you are new around here, then hit that subscribe button. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few days. If the FIFA predictor is already out, then it will be there. So do click on that if it's already out. Apart from that, don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter. And I'll see you in a bit for the FIFA predictor. Bye for now.